they'd put an apple in the bottom and make you put your head into it and bite the apple. So that was a bit off-putting sometimes. But somebody whispered to me, "I'll get him in here." I said, "Don't bother biting the apple." I said, "Nobody knows."
And you had to go through that to be accepted into the social fraternity.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Okay. And was this at the time of your life when you were learning to be going out and drinking beer? Was that at that stage?
I learned it. That was how I did a bit of beer drinking training. We went down the bike once. Two of us went down the bike and I double dinked and had a few beers to do in the pub. That's about about 4K away.
Well, you had it on your bicycle down to the pub.
Yeah, we did have a bit of trouble getting home again. But that was all against the law. You weren't allowed to have any liquor on the place, of course, even after you were 18. You still weren't allowed to. So, yeah.
So you could go to the pub, but you couldn't bring it back to the school.
No. But you weren't allowed to go to the pub either.
You weren't.
Oh no, hell no.
What about when you came back drunk?
Oh, no, we did it very quietly.
Okay.
And
Yeah. Well, what about after the end of college then?
yeah, that must have been 38. Yes, that was the beginning of 39. And then that was the war was declared then. I still remember the day. We used to go over to weddings over at the big house over there. Remember that?
Yeah.
Talk about today.
Yeah.
Every Sunday we'd get over there about 15, 20 or sometimes, and all the young ones. It wasn't a very, not many interesting things you could do in the area those days. It was all pretty. It was thrown back on our own resources to a great extent. And I remember when war was declared on that Sunday night, that was a very definite memory. That what some of us we were all wondering what we should be doing. But anyway, then the following it'd be about 6 months later than that. Oh, no, before that I was in the armoured car, first second armoured car regiment they were stationed in Rapana. I was with them for about 6 months before that. And then we all went down to Torquay for 3 months of military training down there, and that was in 1940. We went down to Hamilton for a while, and then Dad died. It was just the beginning of 41, and so. I continued on in the local set up in the home forces, but a lot of them went to join the AIF then, so I didn't go. But so.
You had to look after the farm then.
My dad was gone, yeah. And then Jimmy was at university. I just forget when he did join up though. I just forget exactly what stage he joined in the AIF.
Was it later in the war?
Pardon?
Was that later?
A little bit later, yeah. Well, of course he was too young then, so he couldn't join for about 3 years after. I'd up in the middle of the war when Jimmy joined.
Wow.
And what happened then? Well, things were pretty tight here for a while. We had a bad run of droughts. The first recession came on. That was the financial recession came on in about 1933. The government promised us a certain amount for our wheat, and Anyway, we all sowed a lot of wheat, and of course then the government reneged on their promise, and it didn't eventuate, so we lost a lot of money then. And then we had droughts besides, and then 1938 was a bad drought. 39 was quite good. 1940 was a drought, and then 41, 42 were good years, and then 43 started again, and we had one of the biggest droughts we've ever had. It was 43, 44, and it went into 45. So that's when I took all the sheep down on the roads down to the west, and just had 2,200 sheep on the roads for about 5 or 6 months, I suppose. So,
you were on horseback?
no, we had a little old truck, a Ford, an A model Ford truck, and we had put a canopy up over the back, and we used to sleep in that, and that was a pretty interesting experience too. I remember one night it was very dry, and we tried to drive the post in to hold the sheep for the night and make a yard, and through the night it rained and the wind got up, and the sheep got pretty frightened, and the post got loose in the ground, and they all got out. Yeah, sort of in the half dark in the middle of early morning, we were out there racing around in our pyjamas. And
chasing a couple of thousand sheep.
yeah, it was a struggle. But it was all pretty entertaining. I was looking back at it, it wasn't bad, but at the time it was a bit of a panic. And I used to go sometimes, I remember quite a few times, I used to have a supply of Nestle's milk in tins, you know, that old Nestle's milk. And
condensed milk?
Yeah. And I used to take that out for lunch. It was quite a good feed, you know. If you have a tin of that, that'll keep you going for quite a long time. Pretty interesting, I suppose. When we just started off, we collected all these dogs up. So you've got to have a lot of dogs when you've got sheep on the road, because you have to tie them up in different places. Instead of having a fence, you just have the dogs bark all night and keep the sheep in under cover and under control. And anyway, all these dogs started having a big blue, about 6 or 8 of them all fighting, and we had to get into most of them and straighten them all out. That was about the first night we had out. But the feed was so short that we had to take about half a dozen bags of wheat and feed the sheep on wheat for a couple of days until we got further away from here that there was enough feed on the roads to keep them alive. So it was a bit difficult at times. And then we eventually got down further south, and we found some pretty good feed, and we some of the back lanes and that sort of thing, where there wasn't much traffic, and it was quite good. But one time I got down near Mortlake, and we had this woman came through, and she's some of these bumptious types from down there anyway. She came through and she ran over one of the sheep. And I said, "You better stop," and she wouldn't stop. Now I jumped on the side on the running board, and she went, "Oh, she wouldn't stop." So I stood up there until she got to the Mortlake, and I made her go into the police station. Anyway, she was pretty stirred about it all. And anyway, I found that she was a relation of ours, Melody relations were down there, and there was all a bit of a to-do about that. I forget exactly what eventuated, but I remember talking to somebody else at some stage, and they said, "Oh, you're the man that was down there and having a row with one of your own relations." Anyway, it made me so cross, you know. I just think they're on the bee's knees, you know, those people, and all blasted. Anyway, I got over that one all right, but yeah. Oh, we were about 3 or 4. At last, we did get a bit of feed down there. We paid for the feed, and we had a paddock, and we just paid the rent for the paddock. And in the end, we all bought ours back, but there were too many in the one mob, and they weren't doing very well. And we bought all our ones back, but